Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Evans, and this is NA Lit Chat, New Adult Lit Chat. For those of you guys who might be listening the first time, here's where we talk about all the things that affect authors, readers, bloggers, anybody who loves the characters and the ages involved in new adult literature. If you're not familiar with it, those are usually characters that are based between the age of 18 and 25 or 26. It's sort of college time, perhaps. But after high school and before settling down, it's a time when lots of fun happens, lots of mistakes are made, and there's lots of juicy stuff to write about. We come here every week on Thursdays to talk about all kinds of good stuff. I am really excited about tonight's show. Tonight we're talking about community, how to build one, why to bother, and what kinds of things that you can do to be a good community member. And this is a topic that is super important to my heart and everybody here at NA Lit Chat, because that's why we do this every week. We've gotten so many amazing friends and colleagues and opportunities from participating in this chat. We hope that you guys in our community have too. But I don't know about you guys. I've seen some pretty crazy things around lately. So we're going to take an unusual start to tonight's show, and I'm going to give our guests a little time to give a true false opinion on a couple of examples of interesting community building or whatever choices I've seen lately. We have awesome guests here tonight. First of all, I want to give a special shout out to Kristen Day, who's in Twitter with us tonight. She's going to be talking all about how to build community. She's one of the founders of Indivisible, which is an amazing new community for authors who would like to find ways to put teams together, connect with other people, find new opportunities. And one of her co-founders is Chelsea Starling, and Chelsea is on the audio broadcast with us tonight. Hey, Chelsea, how are you?
Hey, Amy, sorry. It took me a second to find that unmute button.
You guys, you and S can unmute for sure. And we also have S. Usher Evans, who is here with us tonight. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good. So usually we start with good news, but tonight I want to start with a little quiz about community and what you guys think might be a good idea. So true or false, it is a good idea to write multiple blog posts about another author's work that are less than flattering on your own author blog. True or false?
False.
It depends.
You think it depends?
I think it depends on the context. So I'm one of those people that when I read other people's books, I start editing them in my head, and so usually when I write a review, if I don't absolutely love it, I'm not going to lie about it. So sometimes I've had to post some reviews that aren't necessarily sunshine and rainbows, but I do try to be very clear about what I like and what I don't like. So I think in that context, I see that as a negative because I don't like doing that. But at the same token, I guess I kind of feel like it's one of those things where, they've asked you to write a review. I don't want to lie. So what do? You're in a weird position. So you try to be as kind as you can, but.
Got it. Okay, so Chelsea, true or false? It is a good idea to leave reviews for other authors once you've published yourself.
Absolutely. I think leaving reviews, no matter if you're a reader or a writer, is a great idea. Just leave honest reviews. I think that, especially in the indie community, there can be times when friends just 5-star their friends' books without ever even reading them. And I don't think that's super awesome. I think that you should read a book first before you give it 5 stars.
Got it.
Or 4 stars, or 3 stars, or whatever stars, and you should be honest about it. That's how I feel. Because otherwise, readers don't, they're not getting the true story. They don't. The stars become meaningless. Otherwise, that's my opinion.
All right, cool. Thank you, guys. I want to hear. We have a lot of good news from Twitter, but first I would love to hear a little bit more from our guests. So why don't you guys give me a brief introduction? Chelsea, tell me who you are, what you write, and what you're working on, what your new good news is these days.
Okay. So my name's Chelsea Starling, and I'm actually young adult author. Actually, my book, Quick Bane, that just was published in June, is about a young girl who's 16. It'll kind of maybe start to lean into new adult as I finish this series. This one book is actually just the first part of the whole story. It was too big. And I'm the co-founder, one of the co-founders of Indivisible, which is a new website that provides a place where authors can come and build their own publishing team. We have a whole bunch of awesome freelancers that we've vetted and endorsed on our website so that there's no hiccups with, hiring somebody's friend's friend's friend who said, oh, look, she's a graphic designer, she does awesome covers, and you get a cover and you find out after it's too late that she bit some picture off the internet she wasn't supposed to use legally and put it on your book cover. We want to avoid stuff like that and raise the bar for indie publishers. We would like to see indie authors get the same respect that traditional published authors receive in the literary community right now. And I think that all that needs to happen in order for that to be the case is that people hire professionals to do all of the stuff that a publishing house normally does. So we have that available on our site. We also have PubHub on our site. Well, that's the PubHub, and we have the BookHub on our site, which is a place for readers to come and find great book recommendations. We don't do starred reviews on our site. We just give recommendations for books that our blogger team has enjoyed reading. And there's also some fun features. There's ways for authors to be featured on our site. If you go to the call for submissions page, there's a whole bunch of really fun ways to get involved and get your book out onto our site, like featured with, there's Dear Aggie, which is basically it's like an advice column for fictional characters by a fictional character. It's really fun. And there's, what else? There's just a bunch of cool features on there. There's a Fiction Foodies, where people make recipes from books and post them on our Pinterest page or our Facebook page, and they can win things if the author picks their beautiful photograph of their whatever it is they cooked. Stuff
awesome.
Like that. Yeah,
that sounds
fun.
really fun.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys have been working really hard on it, and we wanted to have you on tonight because you really are going about drawing in and building a community from the ground up. And I think that that's such a fabulous way to do it. You're offering a lot, and hopefully people will check that out. S. Usher Evans, we're going to call you Whitney tonight, and we're not even going to ask why you chose your pen name, but since you and I share a pen last name, we're just going to enjoy it. Right. And what's your good news? I know you have really big good news.
I'm sorry?
I said I know you have good news. Share your good news and tell us a little bit about yourself tonight.
Oh, I have boatloads of good news. The biggest good news right now that I have to share, and actually the reason why I'm here tonight is that I have a new book coming out in March, and the title of that, yay! The title of that book is called Alliances, and the theme is basically I have this very mean, angry main character, and she grows a little bit in the first book, and in the second book she makes a friend. And so she learns how to be a good friend, and so in the spirit of that, my kind of oomph over the next 9 weeks while I'm promoting my book coming out is support. And kind of some of the things that I've been doing with that are I've been doing like some guest blog posts. I did this 15-week blog extravaganza last year, and really trying to highlight other authors because I found that when you support other authors, they more often than not turn around and support you, and that's always just a fun time. So, like I said, my big good news is my book coming out. It's available for pre-order now, and just tons of other stuff. But that's the biggest thing in my life right now.
That's awesome! Congratulations! I'm excited to check that out. I love how well it fits with our topic tonight. We've got some good news from our Twitter people. We've got D.A. Boda, who said he wrote some stuff, and he read Dismantling Evan by Vanessa Kimball, which was so good. Pat Esden is hopefully going to be reading this weekend. She's one of the few ways that she connects. She looks for local writers, and she's been connecting with 23 aspiring artists and L.K. Lewis, author, who is awesome and one of our production team members here. S.L. Cameron said she started a new novel, her first children's chapter book. That's super exciting. I had a fun writing date with our own S.J. Jonas today, and that was awesome. So she even agreed that I didn't talk too much and we can meet next week. So I agree, getting to know local authors is a really good way to build a community.
So you didn't piss Steph off. That's good. You did it.
I didn't piss her off.
That's awesome.
I was even late because I thought there was a UPS place near where we were meeting, and there wasn't, and I needed to find one, and she forgave me for that.
There's a couple other little good news spots up here that I noticed. Mina Viesguera, she's kind of like our international rock star in our audience. She lives in the Philippines, writes from the Philippines. She says her NA series was featured in a Philippine newspaper, which is super cool.
That's so
Mina's
cool.
really trying to like forge the way for new adult in the Philippines, which is really big over there. It's just different. Sex culture, all those things are very different in the Philippines than what they are stateside. So I know she's had some interesting stories about trying to navigate all that and sort of break down some barriers for the fiction. But and then LK Lewis said that her good news, I made a great connection with a fellow local author. We met and had dinner tonight. Do you have local writer buddies? And of course, Amy's got all the buddies. Whitney, by the way, is touring the entire United States for this book. She mentioned before we got on air tonight that she had something like 6 signings or something like that in the next few weeks, which I thought was insane. But.
6
That's so cool.
So I have a whole web page that lists them all out. I'll tweet it out a little bit later. So if you're in those cities and you have a couch,
Right. I thought you were going to be, invite people out to the signing. No, she wants to like crash your house and drink your good beer.
I got to make a profit here, man. Trying to get costs.
Very cool. Well, so we've got some great examples from our community about how to be a good community member. But, we've got Dahlia Adler, Miss Dalai Lama, who says, being supportive of other people's books is key. A lot of authors that she started as a fan of are now good friends. And being active and conversational on social media as opposed to self-promotional helps a lot when it comes to clicking with others. Joining your local authors community can be really awesome. And if you even go on Facebook, you might be surprised to find that there are lots of local authors almost anywhere you are. I know that there's like a New Jersey group, there's a New York group. You can find people through Romance Writers of America. They have local chapters. Even if you don't write romance, there's similar organizations for sci-fi, and there's SCBWI if you write younger books for children and young adults. And that's a great, great place to start. Having a few people in your hometown that can give you a boost or can give you some FaceTime when you need it is huge. But I
was going to ask you, Amy, actually, just because of what, you hanging out with Steph today, writing and stuff. It's not just me, right? Like, there's a different energy involved, like, when you're face-to-face, like, hanging out with other writers than, like, when you're in a Facebook group with them or whatever. Not that Facebook groups aren't valuable and all that stuff, but it's just different, right?
It's super different. I think that it's like everything else in life when it comes to online versus real-time, real-life, face-to-face. They're both critical. We don't always have the luxury of those face-to-face meetings. And, I mean, I just moved, and I have to say, like, part of the reason I was reasonably okay with moving, I had amazing friends, like, on the ground where I live, on my block. Still my closest friends some of my closest friends in the world, but I've developed such a strong community of actual friends through my writing connections, and we might, like, you and I, like, we've never met yet in person, but, I tell you lots of stuff, and there's so many people like that I've met.
It's why we can stay friends, is because we've never met in person.
Probably. But there's a connection that you make over being a writer, and that is something that I think, I'm constantly seeing posts from my friends, like, only other writers can understand that I'm killing people in my head, or, only other, like, and that's so true. I mean, so I think it's critical if you have the time and the space to try to meet people where you are. It's something that you should really attempt to cultivate. At the same time, it might be, easier and more efficient to cultivate online, but there is an added bonus of somebody who gets, your writing life, but also gets to see you in real life. Chelsea, do you have any, like, local writer friends that totally get both sides of you, like who you are on the street every day as well as your writing life?
Here in Charlottesville, I don't really. I've got an editor friend here.
But you're in Virginia?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia.
I feel like I know, like, there's another writer that we know that lives there. I'll have to look up
There's
his
a
name.
whole bunch, but most of them are.
I live here too.
You do? You're in Virginia? Oh, because you're up by DC or in DC?
Yeah, I'm in Alexandria.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Crystal Wade is sort of near there, and she's amazing.
Yeah, all the Virginia writers I know, there's one in Charlottesville that for some reason we have not gotten together in person yet, which is ridiculous. But
Well, it's hard. It's definitely hard.
it is. It's weird, and I just, I work from home and I'm just here a lot. So, but most of them are in Virginia Beach. All the gals I know who write.
Right, Heather. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all over there.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool. I actually, in my new town, one of the people I like knew two people before moving here, and one of them I met through a writing class. She was actually my teacher, and we've stayed in touch, and we've stayed good friends. And she's an amazing author and super supportive. And I think that was easy for me to be like, okay, there's one person who knows both sides of me that's there, which is huge because it's hard to meet somebody that, like, as a parent or as a regular person with your kid's school, and it's hard to meet people as an author. Conferences, if they're the right conferences, can be huge for developing community because, that opportunity to interact with people that you may have met online is super valuable.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Janet's Utopia Con is the perfect stomping grounds for that scenario. She's so great at building community. In fact, almost everybody from Indivisible, our whole team is like, I don't know, I think there's 14 people on our regular team, and then we've also got freelancers and bloggers, and we kind of scrounged them all up from Utopia Con. Almost everybody ended up coming to us that way.
That's such an important point because, like, I think we think a lot of times, like, Kat Vance Hill, also one of our crew members here, in Twitter said a while ago that she didn't have really a close local group that she met with or whatever, and I don't live far from Kat. I mean, we live far, but not far. But I was like, we should get a group together and meet monthly or whatever. But like Utopia is an annual thing; it's once a year. Mm-hmm. But this doesn't have to be like you don't have to have BFFs that you like meet every week at the coffee shop to write or whatever. That's cool, like if you could do that. But I think some face-to-face, just at any point, like whether like it's a couple conferences a year or it just can stimulate like certain parts. And listening to Whitney earlier when she was talking about giving reviews or something online, or whatever, and it just brought up in my mind a very valuable thing about when you're online, sometimes it's really hard to get your point across, like in a genuine fashion or whatever, and so when you say things, you just kind of sound like an asshole or whatever, because you can't, you know what I'm saying? But like when you're face to face, like you get facial expressions and you, I don't know, you just build a rapport that's sometimes difficult to build online.
Yeah, I'm a child of I was like 12 years old and on the original AOL chat room, so I grew up with this kind of interaction where I'm sitting alone in a room talking with people, and this to me is less stressful than sitting in a room and talking with people, and I feel more myself when I'm sitting behind a computer talking with somebody than face to face.
It's interesting. Stephanie and I were just talking about that today, how, those of us, especially those of us who love to write, we really do let some of the best parts of our personality out this way. Maybe that we're too shy or, too reserved to be in person. And so finding that safe space where you can share that and, also knowing that it's going to help you with your work it's so important. It's so great.
I mean, and the other thing is and this is such a time management thing for me. I can have a conversation with somebody at 11 o'clock at night, and I don't have to look like anything. I can just be in my pajamas and be chit-chatting with somebody. And for me, I work all day at a day job, and so my time is very limited, and so I can basically have my cake and eat it too, so to speak, which is kind of nice from that standpoint. That's kind of why I like Tinder, is because I can sort of flirt with guys on my own time. So that's a little peek into my mind process.
That's gonna get us really. That's gonna get really interesting and
all
really off track.
all the boys are going on Tinder right now.
Yeah, exactly. Michael,
They're like, well, let's find the author. I do actually say I'm an author on my Tinder profile, and I think I've sold like 3 books from guys that were interested in taking me out.
Nice.
That's
Like,
pretty
maybe
cool.
if I buy her book.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'll totally go out with you if you buy my book. It's totally free on Amazon.
But here's the interesting part. So it's interesting. Like you've built like some community on Tinder. There's so many social media sites. There's so many different author groups on Facebook. There's a million chats on Twitter. How do you decide where you're going to spend your time, and which groups have you found that actually, make a positive difference in your life and in your career? Because the positivity is really huge.
I can speak to that. For me, my community right now is, my whole Indivisible team. I spend, I've always got like 6 chats open, talking with these guys throughout the day, figuring stuff out to do for the website, working, whatever. We have a weekly meeting that we do through Google Hangouts to get some FaceTime in there that way, because we're all spread across the universe. I don't think any of us live near each other. One of our girls is in Costa Rica, and that's always fun. Crystal Bryant, it's fun to get her on the Skype, because you never know what you're going to see in the background, some crazy sloth or like wild birds or a rainstorm or who knows what, and her internet's always going in and out, so it's a exciting time. But yeah, that's my community. And then, just the people, like we just launched our website recently, and so we're starting to get some awesome people through the bloggers and, whatever. But my other online community is actually a support group that I started for, basically, it's not just for writers, but it turns out that there's a lot of writers out there who suffer from depression. And, being a writer is a pretty isolating career in the first place. We're sitting in a room by ourselves typing on our keys, and there's nobody else around except for like people inside your head, and so and that's not always a good thing. It's awesome, but it's also not awesome sometimes if you're suffering from depression. So I started this group, and like I threw this thing out there because I have PTSD, and I'm pretty open about talking about that, and within like 2 minutes there were probably 30 people that jumped into the Utopia. Actually, the We Are Going to Utopia group is also a great group. But I posted this in there like, hey, you guys, I think I'm going to start this group. Does anyone want to join? You can just private message me if you're too shy. And like people just went bam on the comments, like 27 people in 2 minutes. And I went, oh, I guess this is very needed. And so that's been really helpful for some of the people who are, struggling with some emotional issues or, PTSD, just various mental illnesses. So that's a great community.
I can speak to, your founding of that community and how essential it's been, and I think it opens up a key for everybody to really pay attention to when it comes to building communities. It goes beyond, one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute, and I still want to hear what communities you found, Whitney, that are really helpful, but, this is such a case of like, you get what you give, and what you've done, by starting these communities is you get so much back. And you don't need to start a community in order to get the benefits of being in one. But I think that you have to really consider what you're willing to share, what you're willing to give, what kind of support you're willing to offer in order to be there. Because going someplace just to get whatever you can take from there is probably not going to work out. It goes against the sense of community. I think we've got some Twitter people who are...
One thing I was going to throw out, Amy, is just listening to what Chelsea just said. So one of the things on our agenda of things to talk about, and I'm very passionate about it because I've done it a couple of times, is the whole idea of starting community. Like how sometimes there's just not a fit, like for exactly what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like there's just, right. and you think there is because there are a million things out there, but maybe it's just not exactly like what you're thinking. Chelsea, what she did there is what I've done at times, and what I think a lot of communities, how they start. She just had an idea. It's something that she was passionate about, something that she was meaningful to her, and she just was brave enough to take that very first step and just throw it out there and said, hey, would anybody else be interested in this? Yeah. And boom, all of a sudden you have a whole community. That's how NA Lit Chat started. Like, I left a message on NA Alley's one of their blog posts, and I was like, hey, everybody else has a chat. We should have a chat. And it turned into this, and
cool.
3 years later. So that's how so many of them start. So if there's just not that community for you or whatever, man, just reach out there and just, that's really the toughest part, is just be brave in the beginning. And yeah, it can be overwhelming and you're not going to know how to manage it right away, but people are pretty flexible. As long as you've got something cool and open, people are willing to grow with you, I've found. So.
I totally agree with you, EJ. It's been actually one of the most amazing and uplifting experiences of my life to start that group for depression. We call it the Warrior Tribe. And it's just helped so much. I mean, we all, like, you know, everybody has a crummy day once in a while. You know, everybody has good days. But when the chips are down and you're, like, sinking real low and you feel those demons clawing at your backside trying to drag you into the pit, you can come onto our group and, like, reach out, and there's a whole bunch of people, and there's like 40 people in the group right now, and there's always someone there that's going to, like, jump in and, like, give you some awesome, you know, punches for those demons to shut up and lift you back up from that dark place. And it's helped so much, and it helps to be one of the people who goes in and lifts somebody else up. You know, I might be having a terrible day and everything's going awful for me, and then someone else comes on with something and they're like, oh man, you know, I'm just really struggling right now, and all of a sudden I'm in, like, Supergirl role and I get to lift them up, and in doing so I lift myself up. So it's just been incredible. I'm so blessed and so thankful for everybody who's joined that group, and has been brave enough to share their personal stuff in there. It's awesome. I love all you people. Warriors, I love you guys.
Hey, Whitney, what communities have you joined that you feel are really, really, you know, a big part of your life?
I mean, obviously, every Thursday at 9 p.m.
Yay!
Woohoo!
I mean, actually, seriously though, one of my Fall for the Indie Book authors last year came from this group, Deirdre, and awesome, and she has a whole bunch of new books out. So everyone go look at her. But this was a really good one, and then I'm also in this really interesting, and sorry, gentlemen, but it's a women's only Facebook group. And it's just very interesting because it's like 2,000 women, and all from different genres and different types of writing, and we all come together, and we have very interesting conversations. And for the most part, people are really kind and supportive, and don't really say anything to annoy each other or tee anybody off, which is good. But and that group's been really nice from a supportive standpoint. And then I kind of started cultivating my own, I don't want to call it my own little clique, but sort of when I find authors that are either I fall in love with their book, or they're just genuinely, like, just really nice people, I kind of add them to my Twitter list called my author best friends forever list. And I just sort of I like promoting those guys, and I have that list open on my TweetDeck, and I retweet them and share them and kind of do supportive things for my little clique. And that's kind of my little community. So that's kind of how I am.
That's cool. So you've developed something that's very organic, and it's, like, loose, but it's meaningful to you, and that kind of repetitive interaction is building probably something that goes a little bit beyond you, because these people are all getting, like, to know one another through what you're sharing.
Exactly, and I kind of see it as, you know, there's this one book I read recently that, you know, kind of going back to what I said at the beginning, you know, I very rarely give 5 stars, but when I do give a 5-star for a review, I kind of turn into a super fangirl, and every single thing that author puts out there, I will retweet until the cows come home. Just because, you know, when I read a book that I really believe in and that I really, you know, I felt something about, I want everyone else to know it. So I feel that I grow my brand when I bring in other people's stuff, and I'm not just yammering on about my stuff all the time, kind of supporting other people. I think that it helps. You know, I kind of say a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. Well, and I got that. Willow Cross, I don't know if you guys know her. She's a great author. She writes paranormal YA, and she has a memoir out that just came out this year. And she was at the first Utopia, and I was just kind of there as a panelist and, you know, author in training, I suppose. I'd written a book. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet. And, you know, Willow said that no matter how fast or how well you write, there is no way that you are going to be able to feed a reader's habit. And so it is so much better to stay in their mind and in their heart by recommending other things and other people that you respect and admire, because everybody wins. And not like I ever thought about competition one way or another before then, but that was so eye-opening to me, because it's absolutely true, around the board. Like, even I could read Nora Roberts for a year and I'd still be done with her books eventually. And most of us are not quite that prolific, at least not yet. So, making sure that you do share with your readers people whose work you really care about is definitely a great situation. It's a great and genuine way to build community. I think that as authors, it's important to be careful about, I tend to just keep quiet. If I don't like something, I don't like to spend a lot of time. I don't like to spend a lot of time on things that don't make me happy, so I just kind of ignore them and move on. But I found some amazing communities of people whose work I do respect and admire, and it makes it really easy to share their stuff. I spend a lot of time in the Utopia community, and I've gotten some great friends from there. I obviously spend a lot of time in our NA Lit Chat community, and I also I have a couple other groups that I belong to, and I think the key for me is that I like to separate my promo groups from my informational groups. There's one group I'm in called the Indelibles, and that crosses over a little bit. But in general, I have a couple groups of authors that are really like we all like each other, so we're going to work hard to get the word out for one another. And then I have a couple groups that it's like, this is a no promo space. We're here to ask questions and to get information and to get support. And I find myself opening those all the time because, promo is promo. But support's worth $1 million.
That's such an important part of all this, too, is that you can have communities for different things. Like, there are communities that will support you with your work, especially as indie authors, in the sense of teaching the business and doing those things. You can go with questions and they'll answer them. There are groups that are just other writers and they're crazy like you are, and they're just emotional support groups. Like, I've got those. Like, I've got separate, and they're all, some of them are, like you said, promotional stuff. So, like, it's a group of, like-minded authors. You're all hustling and you're all promoting each other's work. And those are all great. They can just be different. We had a couple of things from Twitter I wanted to share. From Chris Fox, also one of our staff guys here. He said, speaking as someone who suffers from deep depression, it's important to remember that the support group is vital. As a person with a background in mental health counseling, Chris is absolutely right. Like, your inclination is with depression is to close off, and that's the worst. It's really bad.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, can you come join our group if you want to?
All right, Chris,
you're the only dude in there.
You can be the guy.
First, we need to get Chris on Facebook.
I've talked. Yeah, Chris is awesome. Like, Chris and I commiserate a lot. We're very often the guy in a group. Like, it just happens when you're in counseling and writing and doing all these things that a lot of ladies are involved in. But so I know Chris would actually be cool with that. Michael Simcoe said, and he's our resident comedian out on Twitter, he said he starts a guys only Facebook group, realizes it's a horrible idea because guys are jerks. Yeah, I don't know. A guys only group would be interesting, of guy authors.
I'd totally join
it. Right? I'll join it.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Hey, you could do swapsies. Chris could be the token guy in your group, and you could be the token gal in Michael's group.
Love it.
But I think the biggest part of a community, and especially if you haven't found that place for yourself yet, surround yourself with positive people. Do whatever it takes to do that. And I think that there are amazing people who are so successful, and they're so generous with their information and their time and their support. Chelsea Cameron, who is a big friend of ours here at NA Lit Chat, and she tweets a lot with us, and she's been on the show before. She posted a picture this week that said something like, "You can always tell who the strong women are." Well, it was a group of women, but we'll put in the strong people are, because they're the ones that are lifting each other up. And
yes.
It's so crucial, and I'm always amazed when I hear people and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I was in this group with people and everybody got so nasty." Like, just leave. Life's too short. don't spend your time there. Don't get involved in the drama. It's not going to help you. You know, there was a author who posted she made a post this week about like how to bake reviews, and she was trying to be, you know, she was making a wish list of how she wanted people to review her books, and I think we all understand that sentiment, but you know, that might have been something that should have been shared with a small group of people who were supportive and who could have sympathized and empathized. Instead, she chose to, you know, sort of put it out there to the whole world, and she wound up encountering a lot of negative feedback, and you know, whether or not she deserved that or not, like, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I think it just kind of proves the point, like, pay attention to who you're sharing things with. Make sure you don't necessarily want to surround yourself with people who are going to smoke bloke up your ass.
Smoke up your ass.
You want to
just entered an alternate dimension of our chat.
I think we did. But you want to surround yourself with people who are supportive and who are positive and who avoid, or at least for me, I want to surround myself with people who avoid that kind of drama that tears people down. Because I don't have time for it.
Right. Well, I was curious because D.A. Boda just tweeted out the gist of it, because it flew by on Twitter and I lost it. But the gist of it was, online people can just become different human beings. Like, it just sometimes brings out like the worst in humanity. So I was going to ask, like, our guests, Whitney, Chelsea, like, what was something we wanted to talk about tonight, because you can definitely get involved in these poison environments, and you don't want to waste any more time in those than you have to. What is something you guys, Whitney, what is something you look for that, like, are your sort of your red flags? Like, if something happens, you're like, hey, this is probably, you know, I need to deal with this and, like, move on and find a new group of people or something.
So my day job is I used to do strategic communications for the Department of Defense, so I'm very well versed on trying to sell things to people that hate me. So I'm really good at
I love it.
I do too. That's fantastic. Sorry.
Basically, you know, I've had to deal with a couple trolls and with people that are just negative, and I mean, you know, you act professional. You know, I don't respond to negativity in public. And sort of, I have this facade, you know, when I'm in public and public meaning Twitter and Facebook and all of that, where I am just this unflappable, you know, everything's fine and dandy smile. Thank you so much for your input, which is, by the way, the consultant way of telling you to go yourself. And,
it's like the southern bless your heart.
Yes.
And
that speaks to me, Chelsea.
Just bless your heart. But basically, but I do think it's important, and this is something that I am missing in my own life, because I'm, you know, again, you know, I know I'm going to get D.A. Bada and Simcoe all riled up again, but I'm not married and I don't have a boyfriend, so I don't really have a person to kind of vent to, and so, you know, when I do get these trolls and this meanness and this hatred that is so prevalent in our community, I don't really have an outlet for that, and so one of the things that I hate is when I do finally find someone to have an outlet with, you know, their response to me is, oh, get over it, just get past it, and my way of getting past it is, with my very small group of people, my little circle of trust, I can kind of blow up and blow off steam and be angry and be hurt, and then I can then get rid of all of that anger and then go to sort of my public face and be able to be. So it's very important, I think, for you to have that space to be, you know, to be vulnerable and to be angry and to be emotional, and then be able to get rid of that and put it, and then be able to go out to your fans and to the public and be professional, and because that's so important that you don't turn into Kathleen Hale and basically make a fool out of yourself.
Right. So, like, if she had had a different outlet, then somebody could have been like, okay, I totally hear you. You're 100% right, but, like, let's all just calm down and let me give you a hug, and virtually or otherwise, and let's move on. Like, you need people who can talk you off a ledge, same way you need people who can build you up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how do you figure out who to trust, whether it's in, you know, that kind
Did somebody say no one? Is that what I heard?
That was me.
Yeah.
And you wonder where my main character gets her trust issues from. But I think, I mean, for me, definitely, and it has actually been a little bit of training for my parents. That's my support system and my best friend who all live in Florida, which is why I'm moving there soon. You know, for me to tell them, okay, this is how I need you to react when, you know, and I think that's important too, is, you know, within your trust circle, be honest and say, this is how I need you to react when I'm having this situation. So when a troll comes on, gives me a 2-star review, and says that I'm a nosy little author that needs to keep her whatever that guy said, you know, what I need you to say is, wow, that guy's a butthead. I'm really sorry that happened to you. What would you like to do? What would you like me to do for you to make you feel better? Like, that's what I need. I don't need you to say, oh, get over it, or it's okay, or whatever. I just need you to agree with me that he's a butthead, and then we can move on.
And then Whitney uses her connections in the Department of Defense to have that person removed.
Obliterated.
No, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. No.
And speaking of that, Michael Sivko tweeted, he says, whoa, whoa, whoa. He says, what makes S. Usher Evans think spouses are for venting too? Guys will try to fix everything even if it's worse. He says.
I mean, I don't have one, so I don't know these things. I just
Right.
So, but yeah, like I said, I do think it's very important to not only to have your circle, but to be honest about what you need from your circle. In order to make sure that you're getting out of them what you need, and you're not sort of, you know, atomic bombing your own internal circle, basically.
Right. Chelsea, you run writing communities, so like you, or I say run, but like you're part of the administration of various writing communities.
Yes.
What are your red flags? Like, what are you looking for Mount? Because it's not so much anymore. Like we've been doing these chats for so long now that the attitude of, because there are various literature chats that go on out there, and I've actually attended a lot of them and been a part of some of them, and they're not all positive. Like there's some browbeating that goes on and things like that.
Right.
And one thing we've done from the very beginning with this one is we have like this core group of people who are like, that's not allowed. Like if you get in here and you start doing that kind of stuff, I don't say anything. Like the people that are just in Twitter will like run them off.
Right.
But what do you look for? Like and how do you deal with that kind of stuff?
Well, so I mean, my two communities, and I kind of, you know, I mean, I guess I'm like a moderator or something. I have like admin status on the We Are Going to Utopia thing, but I don't claim that as something that I'm running. I pop in there and say hi to everybody, and you know, I love that group. There's just so many awesome people in there. But I think my general nature, I'm a very collaborative spirit. I'm not like a lone wolf at all. And so I tend to, I always tell people my superpower is collecting awesome people. That's what I do. I have this superpower. I collect awesome people, and I really, truly do. Like, my team on Indivisible is just some of the most awesome people that I've ever met in my life. I've got Christina Mercer. She's the Honeybee Girl. You guys know her as the Honey Girl. She's just incredible and amazing.
Oh, I call her Bee Girl. Sorry.
She's the Bee Girl. I know. Well, you're the Dolphin Girl, and she's the Bee Girl. You're my animal
Exactly.
friends. and
You're basically Chelsea's Patronus.
Yes.
Exactly.
I've got millions.
She summons you when she's in danger.
Yes, I have lots of Patronuses.
Actually, Chelsea's usually the saver, not the savee, but she might disagree with that.
I don't know. You guys all save me all the time. That's not true. It's you know, it's a symbiotic relationship with all of my people. You know, I say my people, my warriors and my Indivisible tribe, and you know, I don't know. There's just no room. There's no room in my life for negativity. Somebody who's dealt with PTSD and like been in abusive relationships and all kinds of horrible stuff my whole life that's made me have to grapple with this kind of handicap of depression and PTSD and anxiety. I don't have room in my life for that stuff, and so I don't bother attracting it to me at all. I just don't, and I personally haven't had really any issues with anything like that, so I can't really speak to it. I would say I also got lucky because as I became part of the indie community, I did that through UtopiaCon. that was the first con I ever went to, and that was what was that, 2 years ago only? I've only been to two. I've been to some other writing conferences of different types, I guess, but you know, Janet really is mindful about setting the stage at her entire event, that this is a place where you're safe, where it's okay to be yourself, where everyone's going to like embrace you. If you need a hug, you can literally like walk around and ask someone for a hug at UtopiaCon, and you will get hugged, like tackle hugged probably. But you know, her whole philosophy with everything that she does, and I have been lucky and blessed enough to have personal coaching with her, a few sessions, and I've taken her Stand-Up Indies course, which is starting again, by the way. Any of you writers who want to take your whole entire universe to the next level, I highly recommend that course. It's incredible. A whole bunch of our people on our team have gone through that course, and it's been really amazing. It was instrumental in developing all the goodness that is Indivisible. But anyway, her whole thing is lift as you climb, lift as you climb, lift as you climb. She just sets the stage, and like everyone like basically just hooks into that energy, and it's just a giant love fest. It sounds hippie and hoopy-doopy and whatever, but it's not. It's an incredibly uplifting, almost like a spiritual book convention that I recommend everybody try at least once.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. We all know that I'm equally obsessed with it, and a lot of people in our NA Lit Chat community are going to come this year for the first time, and I'm so excited to get to meet them in person.
Cool.
In a place that's been so instrumental in building community. Yeah.
Excited.
Oh, yay! Cool.
Whitney, you're going to be there.
It's part of my your track.
This is going to mark the end of
Awesome.
Amy and I's relationship. We're going to meet for the first time. So.
Very cool.
So I think
Very exciting. We'll do another on the ground NA Lit Chat this year.
We should do a live NA Lit Chat from Utopia.
good, and I think Bada and Simcoe should buy.
Right, exactly. From the bar. That's what you're suggesting. That we have NA Lit Chat from the hotel bar. That would be awesome.
You laugh, but last year we were having too much fun to tweet much. We had a few pictures from that night.
Yeah,
right,
yeah. We had chat night when Amy was at Utopia last year, and she was responsible for live tweeting from Utopia, and we got like a couple of drunk tweets, and that's all we got for the whole night from Amy. I was like, Amy's going to be checking in any minute with all this important stuff.
Saturday night is otherwise known as Tequila Night at Utopia.
Yeah, I will say, so as someone,
anyway,
I think I've done like 8 cons so far in the past 2 months. I will say that there is something to be said for having help at conventions, and I know that's not something that authors really think about a lot, but I have never actually had someone come help me work a table at a convention, but when I'm going home for my book release, and there's a big convention in my hometown, and I have like 15 people offering to come help me work the table, and it's such a weight off my chest because you don't have to worry about like carrying the books, and you can like get all pretty, and then you won't get sweaty getting everything set up, and it's just, you know, like even just manual labor help for authors is so important because, man, books are heavy.
Well, actually, when it comes to building community, so it's really a great way to build community and get some face time with people is if you have somebody that's like a blogger that's local or in an area that you have members of your street team or just another author friend who maybe isn't at the level where they might be participating in the signing, ask for them to help because it's a great way to, you know, grow that community and do some good. I got super lucky last year with Utopia because Delphina Henley, who is also, you know, Delphina reads a lot, is a blogger, and she and I shared a table, and I realized that she was like a million times better at selling my book than I was. I had no idea. I was like, oh my God, that is super fun, and this is easy, and I had such a better time just like being there with her. And then, you know, if you can share a table, don't like turn away from that, especially if it's somebody whose books you have something in common with, or who might have something in common with yours, because like Whitney's saying, like a little bit of help, whether it's schlepping or selling or just smiling at people, or really goes a long way.
Just sharing a flask when nobody stops at your table. That's
yes, and D.A. Boda would just like to give the heads up: don't hug him at Utopia. Just don't.
I refuse to hug him.
Mr. Standoffish. All right.
I'm not
I think that this idea of reader community, though, that's another, like...
I was just asking for it at this point.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like we really haven't touched on reader communities or like fan communities, and those are also huge. You can learn so much by joining the street teams. I'm a member of Rachel Harris's street team and Estee Bende's street team and Carlisle Shane's street team, and really they all just kind of like invited me on to learn, and I've stayed and watched, and I'm always so impressed at how they cultivate these relationships with readers, and they begin to get to know one another based on books and characters. But the good street teams seem to really grow beyond that, and they become kind of like a group of friends that might have something in common, and they become a place where readers want to spend time. And then obviously, just like Whitney was saying earlier, those people, when, one, you like their books, and two, you manage to develop a relationship with them. Dahlia Adler said the same thing. Those are the relationships that really can give you everything in this world. They're not just promotional, and they're not just a sounding board, and they're not just like an opinion on a cover, but they really can they fill you up with friendship and with professional gain. I don't like that word, but I can't think of a better one right now.
That's such an important point, because I watch ST, who's here with us tonight, doing the actual grunt work of the episode tonight. You guys don't see it, but she doesn't get to come on air, and she doesn't really get to play on Twitter that much. But actually, she's playing Twitter a lot. I see you in there, ST. But anyway, she's the one that brings the tweets in and out. But ST does this with her street team. She's just basically, I just kind of observe, but found like a whole bunch of people that are just insane about like Norse mythology and superheroes and all the things, hot guys that play superheroes, all these things that ST loves, like that, getting to know her, that she enjoys. That's her street team, like that's her fan group. And so, like Amy said, it's not just trying to sell them books. Like, these are people that already like her, so there's not really much point in that. But it's a friendship thing. Like, I see that back and forth with like her and some of the other authors I know that I it's very voyeuristic for me. Like, I watch them, I'm like, damn, I wish I had a street team like that. But I don't know how to do that. So, but anyways, that's such a great point about fan groups. They don't have to be. They're not your group you're selling books to necessarily. But
they should
definitely buy your books. But
I mean, one of the things that I really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amy.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that I really like about cultivating sort of my own fans is that, and again, going back to sharing other people's books, is really nothing makes me happier than when one of my fans finds a book from one of my friend's books and falls in love with it the way that I did, or even if I didn't really like it that much, but I still recommended it to them and they fell in love with it, and then that new author has a fan for life. That actually, to me, is more satisfying than any book sale that I've ever made.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I can understand that, because the book sale goes away, but that connection doesn't necessarily ever. I think we all get a lot of, hopefully everybody gets a good feeling when you manage to introduce someone to something that they can love, whether that's a book or whether that's music or whether that's another person, or like Chelsea says, she sort of collects amazing people and then introduces them to each other. Like, all of these things foster community for us, and I think it just basically kind of goes back to the golden rule. If you want to be a good member of a community, if you want to get something out of it, like, give first, and don't really worry about what's going to come to you, because if you're giving, it will come. The right stuff will come for sure. And I think that it's 10 o'clock. We started a couple minutes late tonight, so we're just going to wrap up. I would love to get just from each of you guys to wrap up. What's your number one piece of advice, Chelsea, when it comes to making a community, keeping a community, and staying in a healthy place with a community, even if something goes wrong? Chelsea, what's your final advice there?
I would say that if you decide to make a community, you need to remain responsible to that community. You got to show up. You got to be there. You got to, do the work to keep everybody together. Kind of cheerlead everybody on. Which is funny. One of my girlfriends gave me this hilarious purse that looks like one of those things cheerleaders yell through.
Megaphone?
Yes, and it says cheerleader on the side. I'm like, it's like you know me. she does, because I love to cheerlead people, and if you're going to start a community, you got to be that cheerleader. You got to be in there and keeping the energy up, and don't let the group die. There's been a couple times when a day or two will go by where I don't check in with my warrior group, for instance, and I go like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I got to get in there and say hi to these guys and make sure everybody's okay. And, luckily the community's there to kind of hold that together if I'm missing. But I would say if you are the starter, it's your responsibility to, stick it out. Don't give up on it. Keep it going. And then as a member, I think it's important to not just be a taker, like you were saying. If you're a member of a community, show up and give support, or interact, say hi, whatever the type of community is. If it's a book community or if it's whatever it is, you got to interact with the people in there. You can't just like show up and be like, here's my stuff, pay attention to me,
Right.
and then leave.
100%
So that's lame. And then if stuff gets hard, if something gets weird, I was actually part of a different group, and I am still in that group. And there was a situation that came up that was really strange and awkward. And the administrators of that group handled it very beautifully and gracefully, and removed this person that was part of the group in a way that was just respectful to everyone there, including the person who was removed. So, just be tactful. Don't engage in like negativity. Just try to remain professional, like what Whitney said. You got to keep your game face on, and communities aren't places. Like, okay, my warrior tribe, everybody goes in there and just lets loose. You can scream, rant, rave, whatever in there, and it's appropriate in there because we expect that. It's okay to do that there, but for the most part, that's not usually appropriate.
Well, I think you bring up
groups.
You bring up a really good point, and my summation of your advice is going to be this. There is not necessarily one community that's going to give you everything you need, just like there's not necessarily one person, one friend, one loved one that can give you everything that you need.
Right.
So be mindful of that, and really pay attention to why you're going to places, and what you can give to them and what you hope to gain from them. If it's a place to have bitch sessions, make sure that's what everybody else is there for.
Right.
If it's a place to like really reveal personal things, make sure that's what everybody is there for. And be aware and then participate accordingly.
Absolutely.
Question.
What about you?
What if your game face resembles fear, confusion, and rage?
Right.
Like that's just my game face. Like that's my.
Come talk to me. I'm good with that. Jack.
Right. That's just my face. People are like, "Why is EJ acting up?" I'm like, it's just his face. Like,
That's like the opposite of resting bitch face. That's
Right. You got rage face.
it's EJ's fear and confusion face.
Well, hey, I guess online nobody knows that, so
Exactly.
You gotta use your words, EJ.
It's just a guy in a swell suit jacket smiling at you with a beard.
Right. See, it's all good.
What about you, Whitney, aka S. Usher Evans, just in case you guys haven't caught on to that yet?
So my biggest thing is, and I think I've been alluding to this the whole chat, is I think you can support another author and not necessarily dig their book. So there have been times when I've read books by authors that I just, for whatever reason, did not jive with, and but I still think it's important to support that author, either because that author is just really supportive of other people or just does good stuff. And I think that's important that to kind of keep that mantra is, just because I didn't like your book doesn't mean that I can't support you as an author. And everybody's got different opinions. And like I said before, just because I didn't like something doesn't mean that somebody that I know wouldn't like it. So, basically support the author, not the book. I
really like that. I think that, it kind of it ties up really nicely because the truth of the matter is, like, if you think about it, there's always something positive that you can say. And it goes a lot further, especially if you're finding people and places that you want to spend time with or spend time in. And, you know, don't lie, don't be disingenuous, and don't do something that you can't respect yourself for. But it's just as easy to say, like, okay, I'm going to use ST as an example because I adore her and I adore her books, but I know enough about her to say this. You know, if I wasn't an Elsker fan, which again I am, I'm a huge Elsker fan, but I could say, like, I love how into the mythology of her books ST is. You know, she's really, like, in love with the world that she explores in her writing. And that may or may not have anything to do with the book. It's just like the passion of the author, and like Norse mythology is really cool. It's not that hard to come up with a way to, you know, give a genuine compliment about a person. And if this is a person and this is a community that you want to be a part of, then I would strongly suggest, you know, figuring out ways to get involved with people, just like Whitney is saying, where you can be supportive and you can still be real without being negative.
You'd be such a good wife,
short.
Amy. Will you marry me?
I'd be such a good what?
Wife?
Wife? Oh, God.
You give me compliments, like you'll find a way. I love it. Will you marry
Wait,
me?
can we pull the hubby on here? Like, I heard his name shouted in the background earlier. Can we pull him on here? I need some verification for this. I need to talk to the actual spouse of Amy's before.
Oh, dear. But then
Amy's awesome.
DA's going to get to him. Luckily, he hasn't figured out how
Maybe
to
Amy could be like your
actually
Twitter
tweet.
wife or something.
I would happily be your Twitter wife, Chelsea.
Okay, you be my Twitter wife. It's
But-
done. We're married now.
Awesome. But
I don't tweet. That's the bad part. You
Oh,
have to
okay.
find a way to
Oh,
get
then you'll be perfect for Amy.
my shoddy tweeting skills.
Well, I'll tweet for you.
She
Okay.
would just ignore you like her other spouse anyway, so it's fine.
Somebody get the paddle. Someone needs a spanking.
Oh, my goodness, this just went off book, and it's not even Simcoe or TA. So
I think I finished my glass of wine, so
now we're actually having fun, and we usually save this after we say goodnight. But I just want to thank you guys. Thank you, Chelsea Starling. Thank you, Kristen Day, who's been tweeting as Indivisible4 on Twitter. They have built this great community, and I hope you guys will check it out and check out their books too, because they are both just as talented at writing as they are at building community. And as Usher Evans, I'm so excited for your book and your tour, and I'm really psyched to meet you at Utopia.
me too.
And EJ, you have been awesome tonight as always. EJ Wesley, our founder, our producer, our guy with the plan, and you know, all the good tweets and the ability to talk at the same time, which impresses me. We've got ST Bende, Chris Fox, Lindsay Lewis, and Alicia Cat Vansel, making sure that Twitter is smooth and fun and informative. And we've got all of you guys in our community who really, you know, are the reason that we come and do this every week, because we definitely get so much out of watching everybody release, watching everybody's questions, helping to find fun things that we all want to come and talk about. And we're so glad that you guys come and participate with us, because it makes it so much more fun. Until next week, I want to say have a good week, happy writing, happy publishing, and see you guys real soon. It's Amy Evans, and this has been NA Lit Chat. Good night.